I'm 28 years old, and for the past 3 years, I had been in a relationship with Jane, who is 27. From the beginning, we worked well as a team. Jane was always career-driven, ambitious, and successful. She made more money than I did, but that was never an issue for me. I was happy with how we divided responsibilities. I handled the food and utilities while she took care of the rent. It worked perfectly, and life felt stable. Recently, though, I started noticing small changes in Jane's behavior. She began to seem distant and distracted. Initially, I didn't think much of it. I figured she was busy with work, as I was also occupied with launching a new product at my job. A few weeks ago, Jane told me she had started spending time with a new group of people she met through work. I didn't know much about them, but it was clear they were becoming an important part of her life. She started hanging out with them frequently, and while I thought it was a little odd, I didn't feel concerned at the time. Everything changed suddenly last week. I came home from work, and before I even set my things down, Jane began screaming at me. She accused me of cheating on her, claiming she had proof. At first, I thought it had to be a bad joke, but I quickly realized she was serious. I tried to stay calm and asked her what she was talking about because I had never cheated on her. I wasn't about to entertain such ridiculous accusations without evidence, but she wouldn't let me get a word in. She kept yelling, calling me names, and throwing baseless accusations at me. The worst part of the entire ordeal was when she called me a soul sucker. That phrase hit me harder than anything else because it was the same term my abusive mother used to call me during my childhood. I never shared much about my past with anyone, but Jane knew this because I trusted her. My mother was the result of an affair, and when her husband found out, he left her. She blamed me for everything wrong in her life, including the breakup. She made my childhood miserable, constantly belittling and berating me. Hearing Jane use that same phrase brought all those painful memories back, and it cut deeper than I could have anticipated. Despite my hurt, I refused to yell back or escalate the situation. I calmly told her that if this was how she chose to treat me, I was done. I grabbed a bag, packed a few things, and walked out. That night, I stayed at a friend's place to clear my head. The next morning, my phone was flooded with notifications. Jane had gone on Facebook and posted a status accusing me of cheating. She called me a soul sucker in her post and even attached a fake screenshot of a supposed conversation between me and one of her friends, whom I'll call Amy. The screenshot was meant to make it look like I had been flirting with Amy. The problem was I had only met Amy once and had never communicated with her outside of that introduction. When I showed the screenshot to my friend, he immediately pointed out that it didn't match the way I text. It was clearly fake. However, Jane's new group of friends rallied behind her, leaving supportive comments on her post, calling her brave for standing up to me and trashing me as some kind of monster. It didn't matter that the screenshot was fabricated. The damage was done. Some of my own friends reached out to ask if the accusations were true. I explained the entire situation to them, and thankfully they believed me. Meanwhile, Jane updated her relationship status on Facebook to say she was now in a relationship with someone named John. I had never heard of this man before. I was stunned by how quickly she moved on, and I started to wonder if she had been projecting her own guilt onto me. It made me question whether she had been unfaithful herself. I blocked her on all social media and focused on finding a new place to live. I also kept detailed records of everything Jane posted, just in case things escalated further. Looking back, it was surreal to realize how someone I had known and trusted for years could turn out to be so manipulative and deceitful. I decided to focus on myself and leave her drama behind. Months later, life had moved on, and I was doing better. Out of the blue, Jane tried to contact me again. Since I had blocked her everywhere, she reached out to my friend Kevin, who I had been staying with after leaving her. Jane begged Kevin to convince me to meet with her, saying she just wanted to explain herself. At first, I told Kevin to tell her no, but she was persistent. Eventually, I agreed, not because I wanted to reconcile, but because I wanted to hear her out and put the matter to rest. We met at a nearby cafe, and I barely recognized her. Jane looked like she had been through hell. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying. Her makeup was smudged, and she looked completely exhausted. I told her to sit down and get to the point. I wasn't there for a pity party or emotional manipulation. I was there for answers. Jane started with an apology, but I cut her off and told her to explain what had happened. She admitted that her new group of friends, particularly Amy and another woman named Jenny, had been gaslighting her for months. They convinced her that I wasn't good enough for her, constantly saying things like, "Why are you settling for him? You deserve so much better." These same friends had even created the fake screenshot of the conversation between me and Amy. They framed it as a test of my loyalty and convinced Jane that I had failed. Jane believed them entirely, and that was when her doubts about me began to spiral. On top of this, Amy and Jenny had been encouraging Jane to pursue John, hyping him up as the perfect guy who would be a better match for her. Jane admitted that she started talking to John while we were still together, but insisted nothing physical happened at the time. However, after our breakup, she slept with John as revenge for the cheating she thought I had done. The irony of it all came when Jane updated her relationship status to say she was in a relationship with John. It turned out that John wasn't interested in her at all. He had only gone along with it because he hated cheaters and wanted to help Jane get revenge on me. Jane believed they were starting something serious, but it quickly fell apart. Devastated, she confronted Amy and Jenny. When she did, they downplayed everything, telling her, "We just wanted the best for you. We didn't mean to hurt you." Jane realized how manipulative they had been and cut ties with them completely. She deleted her Facebook posts, apologized to our mutual friends for lying, and blocked everyone from that group. After all of this, she came to me, begging for another chance. She swore that this was the first time she had ever done anything like this and promised it would never happen again. She cried, apologized for not trusting me, and assured me she would communicate better in the future. I listened to her entire story, but my decision had been made before I even walked into that cafe. I told her that I appreciated her apology, but it changed nothing. The moment she chose to believe lies over me without any evidence was the moment our relationship ended. I asked her why, if Amy and Jenny had been bad-mouthing me for months, she continued to spend time with them instead of talking to me. She didn't have a good answer for that. I told her I forgave her, but only so I could move on. I made it clear that there was no chance of reconciliation. She cried a bit more, but eventually she left. That was the last time I saw or spoke to her. Now, over a year later, my life is in a much better place. I've got a new apartment, my career is going well, and I've even started dating again. This time, I'm far more cautious about who I trust. The entire experience gave me a healthy dose of skepticism, and while I'm grateful for the lessons learned, I wish I could have learned them another way. Still, I'm happy to have moved forward, and I'm grateful to those who supported me through it all. Don't forget to subscribe to Beyond the Surface for more stories like this one.